Hey folks, today we're covering Dev Diary 190 for Crusader Kings 3. This is going to cover patch 1.18.2, and as you can see, it is called a preview, and this is because for the first time in Crusader Kings that I remember anyway, we are getting an open beta of this patch. Well, in fact, that's already live at the moment, but we'll cover that in a second. So this patch, they wanted to get this out before the year ended, and this is why they're doing this open patch system, because they want to get these changes tested a lot more before the Christmas break, and obviously letting players play it also gives some additional information about what is happening in the patch, if it's working correctly, balanced correctly, all those kind of things. So what's going to be included in the patch? Well, this is going to be improvements for the minister gameplay in the celestial government type, also improvements for that government as well, and then also a lot of bug fixing, balancing, all the kind of things to make All Under Heaven that little bit better before we head into Christmas, and I'm sure many of you will be playing the game a lot more than potentially you are at the moment. So this open beta system, they have just started using this in EU5, but it has come over to Crusader Kings now. And how you do this, you go into Steam, you right-click Crusader Kings, then you go to Properties, Betas, and then opt into this beta patch. And then you get to play on this, see how you find it. And then if you don't like it, you just roll the game back to the current version. I think this is a fantastic way to do this. I understand they won't want to do this for every patch that they do, but I think for these smaller updates, especially around balancing and adding small little features, things like that, I think this would be a good way to go in the future. It does let players give it a try, give our feedback, and then they can make changes before this goes live. They do say at the end of this dev diary, this patch will be live for all of us next week. So this week's going to be all about testing it. Obviously, they're testing it internally as well. And then next week, they're going to make all the additional changes. And then this should be with us, I imagine, Tuesday next week. And then we can play it, as I said, over the Christmas break. So definitely give this a try if you are interested. The changes themselves, they're not going to cover everything in this dev diary. They're just going to highlight at the beginning the ministry changes, or at least some of them anyway. As always, I'll leave a link to this in the description down below so you can read through it yourself as well. As I said, there's a lot of changes coming for ministries and the celestial government type. They do list a whole bunch of them, but they've also done a highlight of the most important changes. So I'm not going to go through all the changes. We're just going to do the highlights. And as I said, you can go to the link in the description and read through some of the changes that are coming for the ministries. So the first thing they want to highlight is influence career. They've added some additional options for ministries to influence somebody else's career in a representation of historical privileges typically offered to high-ranking officials. Once per lifetime, you can grant a complete exception, a free pass to all examinations to a member of your family. This sounds a little bit overpowered, but it is something, as I said, happened historically. So it is kind of a cool feature. You can grant this to one person per lifetime, and then they get this boost in their career movement. This might help with succession, I guess. If you've got a character that's not doing that well, you're going to play them next. You can give them a little bit of a boost up the system, so you're not kind of yo-yoing up and down quite as much. You will have this ability to do, as I said, once per lifetime, but it does count towards corruption and will affect the dynastic cycle as well. So especially if you're in control of China, you're probably not going to want to abuse this to the extent that it's going to start affecting the dynastic cycle. I imagine it pushes you towards a chaotic age, things like that. The next thing they're going to show us is a great project, and this is Conduct Census, and this is going to be available to the Minister of Revenue. And then what this does is every county you do this in gets a modifier. You can see that on the screen at the moment. So this will give holding taxes plus 10%, development growth plus 10%, and popular opinion plus 10 as well. So as the Minister of Revenue, you're going to spend your treasury doing this special project, and obviously other things you can do as well. But you can do this and then boost certain areas of the game. I wonder if you've got people from your dynasty in different governorships. Maybe you'll focus on those first, make those governorships even better, and then that might help you in the future as well. But again, just a little bit of bonus gameplay for the Minister of Revenue, and this is a great project, so it works the same as any other great project in the game as well. The next thing they're going to show us is Military Operation Exercise, a duchy-wide operation focused on training soldiers and civilians in case of warfare or natural disasters, and this is available for the Minister of War. So as you can see, they've added these great projects for a couple of the different ministries, and this allows the Minister of War to train troops. As you can see, every province has station men-at-arms in the targeted duchy in the contributor's capital, gains a modifier. Unfortunately, they don't show us what that modifier is, but I'm sure it makes those men-at-arms even better. You also gain some influence as well from doing this. So this allows you to convert treasury into influence and also makes those troops better. Again, if you have a border governorship, you can do this in that location. It will make their troops better, get you some influence as well. I think a pretty good way for this to work. The next one of these projects is Compel Religious Uniformity. This is available for the Minister of Rights, and this is fantastic. This allows you to convert an entire duchy or governorship to the religion of your emperor. So I imagine if you take over the hegemony of China, maybe you're from somewhere outside of China yourself, and then as the emperor, you can get your Minister of Rights to convert entire duchies to your religion. So I think this is a really fun mechanic. Again, bringing additional gameplay to these different ministries, giving them a great project to work towards, and then trying to get that finished, and then it gives you bonuses as well. This one, again, is a very fun one, converting entire duchies to whatever religion the emperor follows. I think it's just a really fun way for this to play out. Again, just bringing some extra content to the celestial government type, and especially China, obviously. And this one is available, as I said, for the Minister of Rights. It can also be started by the Grand Chancellor and the Emperor himself. So again, if you've got a bunch of treasuries, the Emperor, you can go around converting different duchies as well. On top of this, there is going to be some additional content in this patch as well. The first thing they're going to be doing is adding some additional metal mines to East Asia. You can see a whole list of them here. So we're getting additional gold mines, silver mines, salt mines, and also iron mines as well. So this is going to help you make some more money and also bring these further into the eastern side of the map as well. The next thing they're going to be adding is some battle points of interest. These were added to the base game, I think, about a year ago. I can't remember exactly. I think it was with Roads to Power. Someone could correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. And they're going to add some of these into the Eastern Asian region. You can see these are famous battles in Japan, China, and Southeast Asia as well. These are places you can visit on your travels. They give you nice bonuses, and I think they're just fun to see historical battles that happened. And then if you don't know, if you have a particularly good battle, you also get these dynamically added. So if you do a huge battle as a character, you might see these then spawn for a certain amount of time in the game, and then you can visit your old battles, things like that, and get some martial experience. The next thing they're going to cover is in the Autumn of Virtue bookmark. The character Hung Chao in 867 star date will now receive a new starting event, giving you the option to pursue a historical solution to the problems, to having repeatedly failed the imperial examinations, setting out to overthrow the Tang dynasty as this character. You can see that on the screen at the moment, some really cool options here, giving you different ways to play out this character as well. In the interest of player agency though, you may choose one of 4 distinct options: attempting to seize control of the realm from within, embarking on the path of a conqueror, venturing forth as an adventurer if you have Roads to Power, and then the last one, declaring yourself as the savior of your people. So for that one, you become a peasant leader and then have some shenanigans with that. I think this is a really fun addition. Having the different options, what you want to do in China, and then immediately being able to do one of those options, I think is a cool addition. Definitely give that a try once it is in the game, or if you're playing the open beta version. The last thing they're going to talk about is withdraw funds from treasury. Obviously, we do know a little bit of corruption happening in this realm, and this allows you to do a little bit more corruption if you do want to do so. So often in history, rulers of admin realms in China or the Byzantines had quite the opportunity to dip into the government funds without going through outright illegal actions. They were the emperor. This money was the emperor's after all. So what they've done, as you can see on the screen at the moment, they've put in this new decision which converts a certain amount of treasury back into personal gold with the same costs and cooldowns. This allows you to convert treasury back into gold. Usually in game, you can only convert gold into treasury, but this allows you to move it back in the other direction. But obviously, you are doing it in a little bit of a skullduggery way. So an independent ruler can take this decision, costing some legitimacy and gaining a legitimacy gaining decreasing modifier dipped into the treasury. So basically it stacks this negative modifier the more times you do this. In the case of the Chinese emperor, it's also a catalyst in the dynastic cycle, again pushing you towards a chaotic era, I would think so. They've also enabled this decision for ministers in China, so again adding some more content to that role, since they did hold a lot of power in this system. And for them, it costs influence. And similar to when the Emperor does it, there is a negative modifier which affects your prestige and influence, and it also works against the dynastic cycle as well. But technically, as they say here, this was legal. Doesn't necessarily, though, make it proper to do, and that is why you get these negative modifiers as well. Again, with all of these, just making China, I think, a little bit more interesting to play. Once you get higher up in the government, once you get to what you want to be, there was often not much to do as a minister, as the emperor, and all of these changes here give you additional things to do as well. And then, as I said at the beginning of this dev diary, you can play this at the moment in the open beta system. If you're currently playing a campaign, you don't want to risk it. This will be game-wide next week, so I imagine probably Tuesday next week. This will be out for everybody. Again, I will link this in the description down below so you can see how you actually opt into the betas. Give it a try. If you do play mods as well, folks, and you don't know, if a mod doesn't get updated very quickly, you can use this to roll back to previous patches of Crusader Kings and then play your favorite mod that might not be updated to the latest version, and then obviously you can roll it back up to the current version if you want to play the current version that everyone else is playing. But we'll leave it there for today. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about all these changes. We didn't get a full changelog for this. They do say we'll get that next week when it is available for everybody. But do let me know if you've given it a try, and also, as I said, how you think about these changes. I think these are all good changes, just additional content, Really cool to see them get this out before Christmas, and then we can all play it over the Christmas period. So hit the like button if you've enjoyed today's video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I cover all the news around Crusader Kings, and I also cover historical strategy games such as EU5 and some other games as well that are coming next year. But we'll leave it there for today, and I'll see you all next time.